As you probably know, backing up Apple Notes has been a bit problematic for Apple users over the years. And you could probably be using something like Time Machine to back up your entire Mac and restore it to some state. But in many cases, you just want to export and have those notes in some common format that would be useful for either re-importing in the future or maybe migrating to another application. And one of those formats is Markdown, which is a very common format that is useful across multiple different applications today. And there's a very easy way to export all of your Apple Notes in batch to Markdown files. And one of the reasons you'd want to do this is that you could take your export of Markdown files and then back them up in your cloud storage, something like Google Drive or Dropbox. And this gives you the peace of mind that at least you have those notes saved and you don't have to worry about some sort of iCloud hiccup or notes disappearing for whatever reason. This is a very easy process, but there are a couple of initial steps you need to take. First, I just show you, these are some of my Apple Notes. I have an example here where you see it has links, tags, etc. as an image. But anyway, we're going to take these notes and export them to Markdown. Now, the first thing you want to do is download an application called Obsidian. Obsidian is another note-taking app. It's available on multiple operating systems, and it's free of charge. You just go out to obsidian.md, you can see at the top here, and just download it for Mac OS. The nice thing about Obsidian is that it's all in Markdown, and it has an importer for Apple Notes. So it can import Apple Notes, which basically exports your Apple Notes into Obsidian as Markdown files. So once you've downloaded Obsidian and installed it, you'll see down below here, here's the Obsidian icon, and you just launch it, and this is what the Obsidian interface looks like. And the first thing you're going to want to do is create a vault for the notes. And that vault, basically what that means is just a container of all these files that are Markdown files. So to get the vaults, just go down to the bottom left of the screen, and you'll see this little up and down arrow. Choose that, and choose Manage Vaults. And what you're going to want to do here is create a specific folder on your Mac OS where you want to save these exported files. You can just come out here to Create, and choose a local vault name. You could call it like Apple Notes here. I'm going to call mine Apple Notes 2 since I already had one there. And you just browse to a location that you want. You can put it in Documents, put it in Downloads, wherever you want. Just create a folder out there on your Mac and use that as your vault location. Once you create the vault, you're going to see this new window pop up that welcomes you to that vault. You're going to see the name you typed in. Here's my Apple Note 2 down at the bottom. It's going to use the default theme that just pops up. If you want to change that, you can do that right away. So down in this little settings icon, go to that. And if you want, you can check and change the appearance so it's in a dark theme. So if you want to do that, just as adapt to system, I'll just do dark if you like the dark theme, which I like. And the next thing is the important thing. You need to install a plugin that provides the import. So if you want to go there, you got to go to Community Plugins, turn on Community Plugins, browse, and search for Importer. And you can see here, there's the importer. It's actually made by Obsidian. You just install that. It shows you all the types of applications you can import notes from. Notion, Evernote, Apple Notes, OneNote, Google Keep, Bear, Roam, HTML, etc. So we'll enable that. So now I have the importer enabled. We'll close out the settings. And now we're ready to actually import, or in what you might think of exporting Apple Notes, but from Obsidian's point of view, it's importing Apple Notes as Markdown files. So the next step is very simple. On the far left side of your Obsidian screen, you're going to see a new icon here called Open Importer. So let's open that up. Just click on that and you'll see the file formats that you can import into Obsidian, Apple Notes being first in the list. And then you'll have an output folder, which is just a folder within Obsidian, and some of the options you have. You can omit the first line, which basically, in Apple Notes, the first line is the title. So this importer will take that first line out and use it as the title of the file, the Markdown file. And you can include handwriting text. So let's just do that. Hit import. And when this opens up, you should see the folder named group.com.apple.notes. And if you don't see that, that folder is located in Users, Your Username, Library, Group Containers. And pick this folder. This is the folder that contains your Apple Notes on your Mac. Once you're in that folder, you can see at the top, it even tells you that. Select that folder for Obsidian to read Apple Notes data. Click Open, and bam. all of the notes are coming in. Now you see there were some of them did not because of some particular properties, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. So what you're seeing here is now all of these are individual files on your Mac. And you can see up here in the Apple Notes on the side menu, I have the iCloud notes. I'm going to have all my folders from my Apple Notes here in iCloud, even have my local notes from on my Mac. I can actually see a bunch of notes down below. These are the folders. Those notes might be within the folder, or may not be in the main iCloud account. I can open it up and you'll see that note I showed earlier. I'm going to close this graph view, which you might find useful on the side. And you can see there's the same note I showed earlier. It has the links, it has the image, it has the tags. So this is a Markdown file. Now it is exact replica of the Apple Note. But if you open Finder to that folder you had created earlier, you're going to see all the individual Markdown notes here. And those notes are basically text files. They're Markdown text files. You can open them with any text editor. You can open them back in Obsidian if you want. But the nice thing about these is that now you can move these off to a cloud storage and get them backed up. Now, Apple Notes doesn't have Markdown import yet, but it is coming in one of the next OS upgrade versions. Now, is this an absolute foolproof process? No. You saw when I was importing the notes, there were a few errors, and those were caused mostly by one, missing link. So if you had a link between notes and you deleted one of the notes, now the link is broken. Or two, you have an empty note and that it doesn't know what to do with that. Three, there is a specific problem with the importer that it does not import annotated notes. So if you've drawn on, say, a PDF or done some sort of annotations, those are not importing yet. And hopefully Obsidian will update the importer to be able to do that. But when you run into those conditions, just simply export the notes separately using manual processes. So just to call out, it will export PDF attachments successfully, even ones with just have highlights. But if you draw on them, those are the ones that will not work. You saw in my earlier video on how to export using iOS, you can use the RTFD manual export, which will export all of your annotations. So take a look at that video if you haven't seen it yet. Well, that wraps this up. I hope that you found that useful, an easy way to get those notes backed up. And in the future, we're hoping that Apple Notes continues to evolve and we'll be able to import, export much easier than we can today. So enjoy. I hope you subscribe to the channel. This channel's brand new and it's starting to kick off. We're going to talk about lots of different note-taking techniques and tools. So I hope you enjoy it. Take care.